What is shaking, Internet? This is Saltz bringing you some more How to Tank LFR. Why do I keep saying that? How to Tank Heroic for Dummies. This is going to be the Heroic Dragon Soul Guide to Zon'ozz, or the second/third boss in the dungeon. Zon'ozz, I'm actually going to skip the trash here because the trash is pretty much identical to every other mode. So, immediately going into this boss, this is the ping pong boss. You're going to notice one strategy repeated over and over here, and that is the tank has to bounce this. There's multiple strategies to do it on this fight. I highly recommend you checking out the LFR guide and the normal guide to understand the basic concept of the fight. But the big major differences between normal and heroic are the ball does ridiculous amounts of damage, so you have to do something about it. And during the black blood phase, or whatever that phase is called, it actually will do... it will spawn a lot of ads. You as a tank only need to focus on one thing, and it's called the claw. After you're going to notice here that he takes the ball, and I'll explain this in a second. So he immediately takes the ball right there, and then I'm going to run to this designated spot. There's a claw. There's two claws in 25-man. An off tank or plate tank or somebody is going to be over there. You don't have to have a full tank, though. It can be a druid that switches to bear form or whatever. The simple fact is you have to stay on the claw. You don't have to damage the claw you have to kill the claw eventually. But your job as a tank is to stand next to the claw. If you don't stand in melee range of the claw, it will start doing ridiculous amounts of damage to the entire raid. So here's the general strategy. Black blood phase starts, you're going to run over to the claw. Once the black blood phase ends, as you can see here, I'm running back and I'm making him face back to the marker. So at the beginning of the fight, this is exactly the same. You want him facing a marker, and after he faces that marker, you see I'm backing up here. You back up a little bit, you make him come to you, and then you run and make him turn around real quick. So the general idea is that the ball is going to bounce between one person, and then for 3 seconds it moves forward and bounces off you and all the melee group. So, for example, the reason we do this is so that the ball actually goes through the boss and hits me in every single melee. You're going to see that this damage gets ridiculous, and we're actually taking it up to 9 stacks here because the enrage timer is so bad. We actually have to do 7 stacks, 9 stacks, 9 stacks, 3 stacks. So as you can see there, we use all kinds of crazy cooldowns, my 50% reduction, everything like that. So again, I'm gonna cover this. So black blood phase. This is phase 2. You run over, you tank the claw. Tank the claw. That's it. You don't have to worry about DPS. Just tank the claw. Stay within melee range. After a couple of seconds, the boss will run over to you. And here he goes. He runs over to me. Once all the blackness ends, I take him back to the middle and point him back to the marker. Once I point him back to the marker, that's it. That begins phase 1 again. So covering phase 1. This is my guild strategy, so it's kind of different than everybody. Everybody might have something different. But he starts in the middle. You want to face him toward the marker, whatever the marker your raid gives you. That's where the raid is.
Kara, you're my first.
And then as soon as he spawns the ball, you step back. You want to go halfway between him and the ball. As you can see, halfway right about there. He runs forward. You immediately turn him around. Done. The reason you have to turn him around is because that cone that he does ridiculous amounts of damage. And all you have to do is just make sure that you get hit by the ball. That's all there is. You want to be as close to your melee as possible. Because once... so think of the ball like this. If you remember the Morchok encounter, he does the stomp. The stomp does damage to you and the closest person to you. The ball hits the closest person when it spawns, and it can be hit. It'll hit the closest person, which should be you. And then it should hit everybody close to you, which is the melee. The melee should be as close to you as possible. So, for example, the melee is actually running really, really close to the boss, and then they do that. And then again, once you reach the designated stacks, you have to back up a little bit so that it doesn't hit you, and it's actually going to hit the boss. So then I run right back in there.
If you guys can.
So, there you go. You just have to repeat this over and over and over again. There's only 2 phases. The first phase is bounce ball back and forth and back and forth. I don't know how the reduction goes on the other side. I just know as a tank, you want to be, as soon as the ball comes out of that 3-second phase where it can't be
do
hit,
this right, guys.
you want to
We're
be
only going
standing
to
right
3
there.
and we're
Take us
stacking
on
up.
number 1.
So as you can see right here, we are there you go.
Hunters will
Turn
need
him
to
around.
stack
He
as
will
well.
not
Is there
do
a mana
psychic
time?
drain. That's important to note.
Yes,
He will
there
not do
is.
psychic
Just gonna give
drain
it about 3
before he
seconds.
spawns the ball. So once he spawns the ball,
Light
run
bulbs
back,
down, you're gonna
and what
need
you want him to
push
do is you
Ash.
want him to
Line
step
up.
forward so that
Ash out of range.
the ball between the distance between the ball and you
Barely
is
in that box.
Get
kind
out,
of
get
different.
out.
Ready?
So right there,
Go.
boom. And as you can see, like
And then we
it,
will
as
go
soon
down
as
again.
it,
We will not
as
be
soon as
killing
it
the
pops
ads.
out of that phase, it immediately goes
Let it
on
hit.
me. And there you go.
Yeah,
You
1
want to let
second
him
left
hit,
on
and then there you
dispersion.
go. And this is at the end. We're so
Stack.
close to the berserk timer.
Stack.
We just want to do as much
Bloodlust.
damage to him
Kill
as
it, kill it,
possible.
bloodlust,
We're just
bloodlust.
gonna do
Bloodlust.
crazy
Hope with a berry.
cooldowns, and this is just the burn
your potion
phase. We
again?
gotta
Pair with a
finish killing
prime.
him off really quick.
Raw strength now.
And as you can see, we're just doing ridiculous stuff here. I'm actually
Burn
gonna
for my
pop
next
tranquility
train.
here to see if I can. There you go,
Want to
tranquility. Or wait,
Now.
here it goes. There's my tranquility.
Oofty him.
Tranquility, and we did it. And we all die.
Oh.
As somebody in the raid says, it's a draw.
It's a
See,
draw.
that's easy.
So, not the cleanest kill, but that's the basic concept. I realize that this guide is supposed to be for dummies. This fight is not for dummies. It's not a very easy to tank fight.
Oh, it's about
And
time.
there are several different ways to tank it, but the easy part is that when it goes to Black Blood, you have to run to one of the claws. You should be designated a claw to get to, and you run over there, and you have to stay in melee range. I'm going to totally ignore everything about this fight except for tanking. So, that's the core idea. Tank the claws, and during the ball phase, my guild does that bounce between a ranged group and a melee group, and a ranged group and a melee group. And we have to be really close so that it just bounces immediately, because we want the bounces to happen as soon as possible so we can do as much damage to the boss as possible. It's complicated, but good luck.
Salute.
I apologize that this isn't as
Makes me sad.
dummy friendly as the rest, but it's really just a very hard fight to
Use your
tank. It's an
DPS finger.
exceptionally tank heavy
Hey,
and
do I
healer
take
heavy
care of the
fight. I
trinket
guess it's
first?
DPS heavy too. I don't know. This fight seemed way harder than most of the other ones.
Trinket.
Either way, I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover. So, good luck with your own attempts, and as always, you keep it salty, internet.
Okay, biddings open on the Warrior Hunter Shaman gloves.